state of Florida removes $2 billion from BlackRock in anti-ESG divestment. Um, Florida is stepping up. They're doing some really big things. They're totally against this communist China uh, social credit score thing called ESG. ESG they're using for corporations right now, and they want to take that and implement it and use it for individuals soon. They're slowly trying to make that happen. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Now, when you hit that alarm bell, press it again. Change it from personal to all. That way you get all notifications from when I'm putting out stuff. That's if it actually works. Most of the time it doesn't work. Also check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here, and there's also a link to my Instagram where I put out even more news. So check that out as well. All right, let's talk about this news here. Environmental, social, and governance. That's what ESG stands for. Investing is a favorite strategy by woke companies focused on making the world, quote, a better place. But we know this is just another way to control companies, another way to control people. Again, they want to take this ESG thing, this ESG method, this strategy, and implement it and put it onto individuals like they do in China. And China has a social credit score, and that's where this stuff derives from. A lot of our corporations, our government is controlled by the Chinese government. And the way the Chinese are implementing these things are through lockdowns, which we've seen a lot here, which and through these so-called social credit scores. So Forbes describes the criteria for ESG strategy as so that we're going to break the three parts down. Each part of the strategy, you got environment. What kind of impact does a company have on the environment? This can include a company's carbon footprint. You know, I could go all into the carbon stuff, but I'll save that for another day, because they talk about. Well, I'll give you a little bit of carbon when it comes to carbon. Carbon footprint. It was actually more carbon in on the planet years ago. They pull ice sheets out that show an abundance of carbon, and that's how animals, the prehistoric animals like dinosaurs and stuff, could grow so big because of the carbon. They wouldn't be able to survive in our environment today, but that's a whole nother thing. So I'm not even going to get into that right now. Toxic chemicals involved in its manufacturing processes and sustainability efforts that make up its supply chain. That's all included in environment. That's what they look at for your scores. And then you got social. How does the company improve its social impact, both within the company and in the broader community? But what that has nothing to do with corporations. They're supposed to be about making money, providing the service that people want. Nothing about social stuff. But I digress again. Social factors include everything from LGBTQ plus equality, racial diversity in both the executive suite and staff overall, and we know that's not happening there. Look at things like Silicon Valley and all that. Where's the diversity in that? They just make this. They don't really follow this stuff. But it goes on to say ed inclusion programs and hiring practices. It even looks at how a company advocates for social good in the wider world beyond its limited sphere of business. And then you got governance. How does the company board and management drive positive change? Why do corporations need to drive change? That's not a corporation job. That's why we got a real government. That's what drives change. We have activists, not corporations. That's not their job. But it goes on to say governance includes everything from issues surrounding executive pay to diversity and leadership, as well as how well the leadership responds to and interacts with its shareholders. What about diversity and leadership? What about meritocracy? You want the best leader in place. You don't want the leader in place because they're female or they're a part of the LGBT community. We want the best person for the job in place in these places in corporations. So none of this stuff is just again another way of control. BlackRock Inc. is an American multinational investment management corporation and the world's largest asset manager. Those were the ones that was buying up all the homes and stuff for way more than market value. I still don't know to this day what they're doing exactly with all these homes they were purchasing and stuff. The company has embraced ESG and encourages portfolio companies to disclose their ESG data, including carbon emissions and board diversity, among other criteria. BlackRock's woke strategy seems iconic considering their heavy investments with global polluter and human rights crushing CCP run China. Again, that's where they get this stuff from. They get it from China. Last December, William Hill, executive director of Consumers Research, sent a letter to the governors of the 10 states with the top 10 state pension funds invested with BlackRock. Howard writes, later today, Consumers Research, the nation's oldest consumer advocacy organization, will issue a consumer warning focused on the world's largest money management firm, BlackRock. The warning is meant to raise awareness among American consumers that BlackRock is taking their money and betting on China again because China owns them, like I've been saying. Goes on to say, in so doing, they are putting American security at risk, along with billions of dollars from U.S. investors, including many state-run pension plans. I want to make sure that you were aware that your state is one of the top 10 states whose public pension funds are invested in BlackRock and therefore potentially at risk based on the issues we outlined our consumer warning. I mean, that is huge. And now with stuff that going on with the whole FTX debacle, I do realize that there are two different businesses, but look at people, they just lost all their pension behind FTX. So you would think some of these states would be a little bit more conservative, a little bit more aware when it comes to where they put people's pensions in. You don't want to put your pension in something like BlackRock that has ties to the Chinese government, and they look like from everything that we observe, they bringing in the ESG and stuff like that. They are gonna listen to the CCP, the Chinese government. But quote, for these reasons and more, Consumers Research want to ensure you are aware of the risk associated with investing with BlackRock. We urge elected officials to do their due diligence in educating themselves and their staff on the multiple risks posed by BlackRock's extensive investments in Chinese companies, both from an ethical standpoint. See, now they're the main ones pushing this ESG thing, but they're dealing with CCP, the Chinese government. So I'm glad he brought up the ethical point. Who has concentration camps with Muslims in there and dissidents in there, and you talking about ESG? What you talk about social stuff, but that don't apply to the Chinese government. But he goes on to say, both from an ethical standpoint as well as a fiduciary responsibility owed to U.S. pension holders and retirees. As the leader of a state whose pension funds are among the top 10 most extensively invested in BlackRock, we invite you to examine our report and conduct any necessary efforts to learn more about the risks to the assets of your state's public employees. That's really huge. That's really, really huge there. In addition to BlackRock's troubling heavy investments in China, their ESG focus has led the state of Florida to announce that it will pull $2 billion of its assets management by the firm. Good on Florida. And Reuters reported Florida's chief financial officer said on Thursday his department will pull $2 billion worth of its assets managed by BlackRock Inc. The biggest such divestment by a state opposed to the asset manager's environmental, social, and corporate governance policies, so the ESG policies. While the move will hardly dent BlackRock's $8 trillion in assets, wow, they got a lot of money in assets. It underscores how the backlash among many Republican politicians, such as those in Florida against ESG investing, which they see as promoting a woke agenda, is gathering steam. It's more than just a woke agenda. I don't know why they can't see what ESG really is. Is the control, because you hand out these arbitrary scores with these companies because they're pushing these agendas and ideologies. But Republicans are set to assume control of House Representatives in January. This will allow them to hold hearings on ESG and grill the chief executives of BlackRock and other major asset management managers about their ESG policies, and also pressure regulators to scrutinize them. And hopefully they do. And I'm going to be covering it if they do question them on it. In a statement, Florida CFO Jimmy Patronis said the state's treasury, which he oversees, would remove BlackRock as manager of about $600 million of short-term investments and have its custodian freeze $1.43 billion of long-term securities now with BlackRock, with an eye on reallocating the money to other money managers by the start of 2023. Good on Florida. In a press release, Patronis said Florida Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Patronis announced that the Florida Treasury will begin divesting $2 billion worth of assets currently under management by BlackRock. The state treasury will immediately have Florida's custody bank freeze approximately $1.43 billion worth of long-term securities. But he said, I'm sorry, this is what Patronis actually said, quote, as Florida Chief Financial Officer, it's my responsibility to get the best returns possible for taxpayers. The more effective we are investing to generate a return, the more effective we'll be in funding priorities like schools, hospitals, and roads. As major banking institutions and economists predict a recession in the coming year, which I believe we're already in one, and as the Fed increase interest rates to combat the inflation crisis, I need partners within the financial services industry who are as committed to the bottom line as we are, and I don't trust BlackRock's ability to deliver. You can't trust BlackRock. Their ties to the CCP is too thick. Quote, BlackRock CEO Larry Flint is on a campaign to change the world. I agree with that. He goes on to say, in an open letter to CEOs, he championed stakeholder capitalism and believes that capitalism has the power to shape society. To meet this end, the asset management company has leaned heavily into environmental, social, and governance standards, known as ESG, to help police who should and who should not gain access to capital. Like, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Quote, whether stakeholder capitalism or ESG standards are being pushed by BlackRock for ideological reasons or to develop social credit ratings, that's what I think it is. It's both. It's both. It's for ideological reasons and for social credit ratings. Again, they're going to start putting those ratings on individuals. And if you believe a certain way, you're not going to be able to get loans. You're not going to be able to get credit cards and all that stuff because you have a certain ideology. That's what they're pushing. You're seeing it now with look what they did with Kanye West. How Kanye West got kicked out from banking from Chase. What is it, J.P. Morgan Chase. And Apple and things like this. Like, you'll see these things. It's going to become more frequent. The more people speak out, the more they're going to lose their banking. Look at what PayPal is doing. But he goes on to say the effect to avoid dealing with messiness of democracy. I think it's undemocratic of major asset managers to use this power to influence societal outcomes. If Larry or his friends on Wall Street want to change the world, run for office. That's exactly what I was alluding to. That's for what politics is for. It's not for corporations to do that. But start a nonprofit, donate to the causes you care about. I'm not going to read any more of that. He goes on to say a little bit more there, but basically just reiterating that they're going to be pulling the funds. I think it's a good idea. I hope more states do this. Start pulling the pension funds. If you don't agree with this ESG bullcrap, the states need to just pull the state pensions. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace. Oh, say, oh, say.